through a typical practice session for you? Just like stuff that you like to touch on. Doesn't have to be super specific. And then also how you balance that technique with creativity, which we've kind of touched a little bit on. And maybe that comes in with, just playing tunes when you're practicing.
So when I think about practicing, I think about the three most important elements. And this is something that came to mind when I started teaching during the pandemic. I never really thought about it, but I had like one of the greatest teachers I had in my life. That was my dad. He was like such a great teacher. So now when I try to teach, it's very much related to how he did it, which has to do through transcriptions. But I think about the three most important aspects in music for me, which is fundamental: sound, time, feel, and ideas. So how the idea of getting better has to do with mastering those fundamentals and trying to go deeper into what is to have a good sound, what is that frequency, how can it get better with being what it is. So having a process is very much something really important to me. So rather than thinking about like a starting routine and then I'm gonna do my scales and then I think about how my practice can involve everything that I want to work on or I'm thinking on. So I have these three things, which is sound, time, feel, and idea. I have a set way of practicing it, which is, practice super soft or loud, practice, maybe with the microtones or doing like the practicing may change, but it's always with the tuner and always very conscious about if I like it or not. And then I may take the same exercise and put it into time field practicing, create some kind of exercise, and then make that into ideas. So I think I can show you an example.
Yeah,
that may be
I'd love
like
that.
the easiest way to go about it. I mean, this is just like it's just a glimpse of what my practicing is. So let's say like I have to learn all the things you are for a class or a concert, and I don't know it. So rather than practicing a routine and then my transcription, like my week or my month may be involved around all the things you are. So I plan my practicing and I'm always trying to be ahead of the things I have to learn, unless I don't have the time. So let's say if I want to do all the things you are, when I practice sound, to me it's really important to practice intervals, kind of like overtones, but on intervals. So I can really tell how much control I have. And if I practice intervals, I can think about voicings. So if I practice the voicings of all the things you are with my sound routine, that's a way to learn two things at once, And then I'm thinking about numbers too. So let's say 1, 1, 5, 3, So I'm just gonna do a really quick sound warm up. So it could be like. So I will hold the note for a long time. This was just an example. And then out of that, I may create an exercise, maybe think about voice leading. So I'm thinking 1, 5, 3. So how can I move from one chord to another one in the smoothest way, and also be lyrical about it. And then I may use the metronome on 40 and just play that super slow. And then when it comes to creativity, I may transcribe a solo or play the melody in the relationship to the harmony, or just trying to find something that sounds good to me. So that is like a way that I have to think about how to learn something and always implement it and always make sure I'm practicing what is important. And if I change what I'm practicing all the time, but I have a method to practice those things, I think like that is the most efficient way for me to like slowly gather information and get better.
I love it. Yeah. It's it's an element of time management
Oh yeah.
too,
Yeah.
to be able to work on so many things at once, but yet not be so scattered that you're not working on anything,
Yeah.
right? Because that can be, a pitfall as well. I love that.
But I think that like if you are present, you're gonna practice good. It's like kind of, you can go to the gym and start lifting weights and you may be doing the thing, but you're not really doing the actual work. But if you're doing the work, you're gonna feel it in your muscles. As much as you feel like you're not going anywhere, you're gonna feel that you're doing the physical work. So I think that being present is a really good way to make sure you're practicing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So jazz is known as a conversation, or at least the improvisational elements. Um, how do you approach playing in a group setting, especially with such dynamic and talented band members? Is there any? I know that you can probably tell the difference, obviously, when you've played with somebody or a group of people for a long time versus something, a set of musicians you haven't, or the levels might be different. Some,
Yeah.
Group of musicians, very experienced versus less experienced. Is there anything that changes in your approach or your experience that you notice?
I think it changes just because it's different people and different places. So that goes back with the idea of being present, like if I'm playing with people that are not on the same level, like I'm not gonna play, I'm not gonna play worse or I'm just gonna play with what is happening around, and that may require for me to play in a certain way, because I think that as a musician, our responsibility is to make sure everyone feels comfortable in the bandstand, either you're a band leader or not, and bring the best out of everyone, So I think that because of that and because the circumstances are different, it changed from one situation to another one.
And you find that obviously you have a special connection with the players that you want to play with consistently.
Yeah.
Is there anything, for me in particular, I love a drummer, for example, that loves to interact. A drummer that likes to almost be soloing with you. Are there any particular types of music, or approaches, I should say, that draw you in more than others?
Yeah, I mean, I just like when people listen.
Yeah.
And listening to the bigger picture. So for me, that is something very important, like dynamics, like how we the sound that we have as a band. But it's just different, like also it's different taste, different cup of teas. But for me, yeah, that's like something very important, like the sound and the texture in relationship to how we all line together.
Let's get right into the setup. Now, I did a lot of homework and I listened to a lot of interviews, as much as I could find, but I didn't hear much about what you're playing on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I know what it is, but why don't you tell us?
Yeah. Well, I've never been super crazy about gear. So I've been playing what I truly love playing, So this is a balance. This is a 40-03 balance. It was given to me from a friend that passed away like a year ago. He was a very dear, close friend of mine and had this beautiful balance that is basically like new.
Yeah.
And then I got the original neck, but I was back and forth between this custom-made neck by a guy from Amsterdam. His name is Friso Heldinga. He does he does the necks by hand, and he's a very close friend of mine, and I spent a lot of time with him through the years. So this is a neck that we work together. But the first neck I had from him was maybe like 10 years ago that I bought a prototype that I really like. And I think that the fact that he does it by hand, there's something about the sound that I really love. And I like it better than the original one. And that is, the original ones is part of the horn, But it's good in a different way. And then I'm playing Matt Moran's.
Okay.
It's my own model. It's called Aldana. I've been playing this mouthpiece like for a little bit over 10 years. And we recently did a few changes. Like the shape of the tip is different. It's more like that. And it's like a slang signature. But yeah, he did something. I don't know exactly what he did, but it's my favorite mouthpiece, because it allows me to go through all the horn very easily. It's interesting. It can be very bright, but it can be dark at the same time. So I'm still getting to know the mouthpiece, but this has been playing for a long time. Then I usually use a Boston Sax ligature or Ichimori. I love both equally. And then Boston Sax, Ritz number 3.5, and the mouthpiece is number 8. Yeah. And then the harness strap, that we've been using for a long time.
That's beautiful. So it's a 43 serial number?
4003. Yeah, 403. Yeah.
Okay. I've got a 43 over there.
Okay, yeah, I have a 45 at home. So those are beautiful numbers.
Yeah. Well, it sounds incredible. I also noticed I also have a 54 from 1954 super balance, and it's got the
they're together.
Yeah, from like the Mark 6 is that transition horn.
54, 53 also are beautiful. I really like those horns.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad that because this does look different than some of the recordings and things that I've seen.
Oh yeah,
because it's newer.
I just got this like 3 months ago.
Okay, yeah.
And I was using a 53 before, and before 45.
Okay.
But then this is the most beautiful balance I've ever seen in my life. The other ones didn't have all the lacquer. So it's quite special, and also feels like I'm like just putting my energy into the horn, and we just kind of starting dating.
Right, exactly. It is a relationship. Yeah. Okay.